Stay with us. Glad to have you back. You're still on to Osrc News at 7. You can watch us live on our website www.osrc.ng or follow us on Facebook, Osrc TV Ondo. And on YouTube, you can subscribe to our channel, Osrc TV Ondo. Last month, the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) announced that 1,854,859 printed permanent voter cards (PVCs) are ready for collection ahead of the 2023 general elections. While it is imperative for eligible citizens to obtain the PVCs in order to vote in any election available records show that in Ondo State, 343.886 PVCs were not collected, build up to the 2019 ballot. Sahid Aribisala in this report takes a look at how well the electorate are exploring the ongoing continuous voter registration.
Flashback to the build-up to the 2019 general election. The Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) announced that 72.8 million Nigerians collected the permanent voter card, marking 86.63% of the 84 million registered voters. In Ondo State, 343,886 PVCs were uncollected. Ahead the 2023 election, INEC Chairman Professor Mahmoud Yakubu disclosed that over 1.8 million permanent voter cards have been printed and ready for collection.
This development is worrisome because of the time and resources expended in handling these cases. Even more disturbing are the strong indications that some of our staff may be complicit in facilitating these infractions, notwithstanding the stern warnings.
This window of opportunity, according to findings, is gradually being utilized by some eligible residents in Akure, like this young man, Mr. Olatomiwa Akindibo, who has never voted since he registered for his permanent voter card in 2017. 5 years after his registration, he is back at this INEC local government office to pick up his card.
Due to say, if I call, I could meet people for grant, and that is the reason why I just say, maybe God never support me, say, make I come. But now, don't reach time, because I think they go like this. Now everybody's supposed to go out, say, may everybody vote you. Because now we fit do in our nation.
Another individual in a similar situation is Olamide Oluwatobi, who says his registration since 2016 cannot be recovered upon his return for collection in year 2022.
Registration, but torí pé mo fẹ́ vote, reason why mo fi wá sìn pé kí lè gba plastic kí lè vote.
INEC had announced that Nigerians who registered for PVC from June to December 2021 can have their cards collected at designated local government offices, just as it assured those who registered between January and March 2022, as well as those who are currently doing so, will have their PVCs ready for collection before the 2023 general election. Sahid Aribisala, Osrc News.
Still on electoral matters, the Court of Appeal has set aside the judgments of the Federal High Court in Umuahia, Abia State, which bordered the provision of Section 84, subsection 12 of the Electoral Act 2022. A three-member panel of the court, headed by Justice Hama Akawu Barka, held that the Federal High Court, Umuahia, had no jurisdiction to entertain the case because the plaintiff, Nduka Edede, lacked the local standing to have filed the suit in the first place. The appellate court added that Edede did not establish any course of action to have warranted his approaching the court on the issue because it did not establish that he was directly affected by the provision. While determining the appeal on the merit, the appellate court, however, held that the provision is unconstitutional because it violates Section 42, subsection 1A of the Constitution, and denied a class of Nigerian citizens the right to participate in elections. In the meantime, President Muhammadu Buhari has directed that all members of the Federal Executive Council running for elective offices should submit their letters of resignation on or before Monday, the 16th of this month. The Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, who stated this during the Federal Executive Council meeting, however, said the directive excludes the Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, because he is an elected member of the cabinet. Rotimi Amechi, Ogbonaya Ono, Emeka Nwajiba, Chris Ngige, and Timipre Silva are by this directive expected to resign their ministerial positions, as they have already picked up the expression of interest and nomination forms for the presidential ticket of the All Progressives Congress APC. Also affected is the Minister of Women Affairs, Pauline Talon, who is running for Senate. Now back to Richard Ilisami's story on Pa Fashoranti. As leader of the Yoruba Socio-Political Association, Afenifere Chief Reuben Fashoranti clocks 96. Nigerian leaders have been challenged to emulate his outstanding qualities of honesty, integrity, and self-confidence in order to establish good governance in the country. Some elder statesmen who spoke to Osrc said Chief Fashoranti served in public office with a high degree of integrity and patriotism, which etched his name on the brighter side of history. Osrc's Richard Ilisami reports that leaders from all the political divides gathered to extol his virtues while longing for a new Nigeria, for which the Afenifere leader spent his life to agitate for.
One of the few Nigerians that have found favor and grace to live a long life amidst life's uncertainties and the ugly moments they experienced is Afenifere leader Chief Reuben Fashoranti, who is now 96 years old. His 96-year life journey has been of service to the fatherland and humanity in integrity and honesty, qualities absent in modern Nigeria but fraught with ugly experiences in more than 2 years of incarceration. But the man survived those tribulations, and Afenifere leaders, family members, and people of goodwill, including a presidential aspirant, Dele Momodu, and the former governor of the old Kwara State, Olatunji Adebayo, gathered at the home of Chief Fashoranti to celebrate his unique personality.
Oh, it's a jolly good fair. Oh, yes, it's a jolly good fair.
The event proved to be a platform for people to talk about Chief Fashoranti's character and contributions to politics, governance, and humanity. Former Secretary to Government of the Federation, Chief Olufalaye, and an elder statesman, Basharun Sendiarogbofa, said Pa Fashoranti represents the best in politics that has contributed immensely to good governance through his selfless service.
Multiple crises that envelop us. We must find people with the kind of qualities and principles that Papa Fashoranti symbolizes and get them to run the affairs of Nigeria. You cannot play with the third 11 in a football match and win against the first 11 team of another country.
It's believed that every state should have a right to exist and be competitive. It's believed. But once we allow every state to develop, life will become more abundant. That every state will be able to provide jobs for its able-bodied people.
Chief Dele Momodu and the former governor of the old Kwara State, Chief Olatunji, as well as a veteran broadcaster, Chief Sonya Oyinson, described Pa Fashoranti as a great Democrat, passionate about community development, and sacrificed much for the country.
A great leader, great educationist, great inspiration to people like myself, a lot of young Nigerians. So, and then to attain 96 is not a joke. So I'm very, very happy that I was able to join him today.
We are praying to be as useful as he has been to his people, and to we who are his children, though not born by him, It's a privilege to work with him, to work under him, to be guided by him. And he's a lover of this country comparable to names like Awolowo, names like Agashin, names like Amadou Bello, names like Azikwe of old.
He told Osrc that he had a tough path in life, but was able to weather the storm with courage and the grace of God.
I lost my first daughter. It was a very, very bad time. At that time I was in detention, so the news was brought to me, and I was allowed to come home and taken back to detention. It was a very bitter experience.
Join us for a special documentary tomorrow to celebrate the life of this extraordinary Nigerian who served impeccably in public office. Richard Lesoni, Osrc News.
And now to the foreign scene. China's zero-COVID strategy to defeat the pandemic is not sustainable. The head of the World Health Organization had said in a rare public criticism by the UN agency on a government's handling of the coronavirus, draconian measures have trapped most of Shanghai's 25 million people at home for weeks as China tries to stamp out the country's worst outbreak since the pandemic began. Richard Lesoni reports.
Beijing, a city of more than 20 million people, almost at a standstill. School, gyms, hairdressers are closed and people are being told or forced to work from home while widespread COVID-19 testing is underway.
We must work hard to race against the virus, adhere to the 24-hour treatment rule, carry out the epidemiological investigations, controls and detection in a fast manner, and speed up the whole process.
But with the toughening restrictions in Beijing and the weeks of lockdown misery in the biggest city, Shanghai, the World Health Organization issued a rare criticism of China's zero-COVID strategy.
We have discussed about this issue with Chinese experts, and we indicated that the approach, will not be sustainable. And considering the behavior of the virus, I think a shift will be very important.
Experts suggest China could struggle to find a way out because of low vaccination rates and those aged over 60.
Over the long term, countless millions of people in China are going to get COVID, and they need a strategy to prevent people from being hospitalized and dying. And that really means effective vaccines and high penetration, particularly among the elderly and the vulnerable, and that's not happening in China.
China's policies have caused anger and anguish for separating children from parents and putting those without symptoms in with others who are unwell. There have been rare protests too, with residents in Shanghai banging paws and frustration over weeks spent indoors. Here, crowds faced off with the police and protective clothing because their homes were being formed into temporary quarantine centers.
But all of those actions, as we've said since the beginning, should show due respect to individual and human rights. And we always have said as WHO that we need to balance the control measures against the impact they have on society, the impact they have on the economy, and that's not always an easy calibration to make.
Other countries that have shared a zero-COVID approach are beginning to transition to living with the virus. China is yet to move on. It says its policies will stand the test of history, vowing to win the battle against the pandemic. Richard Lesoni, Osrc News.
Now to sports. Officials of Osrc City Football Club risk a 2-year ban after the club announced their withdrawal from the Nigerian Nationwide League One (NLO). Also, Osrc City are in danger of being expelled from the third-tier NLO due to their action. The club's withdrawal from the league was revealed by organizers of NLO. NLO Secretariat expressed sympathy with the management of the club over the reasons given for the withdrawal from the league. Akure City's disengagement from the league program may not be unconnected with NLO's allegation of an Akure-based referee for interfering in a match involving the club last week. Before we go tonight, let's remind you that Governor Akeredolu, alongside other statesmen in Ondo State, have extolled Pa Reuben Fashoranti on the occasion of his 96th birthday. Nigerians have called for a speedy resolution of the protracted ASU strike to save the education sector. President Muhammadu Buhari has directed all ministers running for elective offices to resign. And from the foreign scene, we told you that the World Health Organization has criticized China's approach to Chinese COVID-19 outbreak. Thank you for watching. Good night.
Mommy Bola, why is your daughter not going to school? Don't you know that school has resumed for nearly a week now?
Mommy Kemi, school has just resumed. My daughter will not resume until after 2 weeks. She has to assist me at home and in the market.
Not at all. The Ondo State government has cautioned against keeping your child at home or using him or her for domestic work after school resumption. Such unwholesome act is detrimental to the education of that child. Government also cautions against other unapproved acts such as truancy, bullying, hooliganism, examination malpractices in whatever form, gambling, absenteeism, alcohol consumption, sexual harassment, rape, indecent dressing, drug abuse, and students roaming the streets or loitering around the school gates during school hours. These acts are inimical to the growth of education and will incur appropriate sanctions. Government therefore enjoins parents and guardians to properly monitor the activities of their children and wards after school hours, know the company they keep, and instructs them on safety tips and good moral behavior. Together, we will take Ondo State to a greater height. Commissioner for Education, Science and Technology, Ondo State announcer.
ṣe ìbànújẹ́ nígbà tí olódodo bá lọ èyí ló mú kí gbogbo ẹbí aláwọ̀ rẹ̀ sì máa bá wa olóògbé pa Josiah Adékọlá Adénítan máa fàǹfààní yìí kéde ìpapòdà ẹni rẹ̀ tó lọ olóògbé Victoria Ajayi Adékọlá ẹni tó sùn nínú Olúwa ní ọjọ́ kìíní oṣù kẹta 2022 after 78 years on earth báyìí ni ètò ayẹyẹ ni ọmọ ṣe ṣe lọ tó bá di ọjọ́ kẹwàá sí ọjọ́ kejìlá nínú oṣù karùn-ún ìsọjí ìta gbangba òwe ìjẹ̀rí ọkọ̀ ní dédé aago márùn-ún ìrọ̀lẹ́ guest artist for the revival Elijah Akitunde Ọlọ́run sọ bẹ́ẹ̀ ìsọjí yẹn máa wáyé ní St James's Anglican Primary School field tó bá wá di ọjọ́ Wednesday commendation service ní dédé aago márùn-ún ìrọ̀lẹ́ ní Bọ́lá International Group of School Futa ọjọ́ Thursday láti máa ṣe free medical outreach service fún àyẹ̀wò àti ìtọ́jú bẹ̀rẹ̀ ní dédé aago mẹ́wàá àárọ̀ Friday 13th of May ní Christian Wake ní dédé aago mẹ́rin àbọ̀ ìrọ̀lẹ́ Saturday 14th of May